Mizmor LeDavid. Adonai roi lo echsar. Binot asher yarbitzen yameh menuchot yenach aleini. Nafshi shovev. Yanacheni v'magle tzedek lema'an shemo. Gam ki helech b'gitzon mavet. Lo irara ki ata imati. Shiftecha umishantecha hema yenachamoni. Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged tzorirai. Tishanta v'shemen roshi kosiri vaya. Ach tov chesed yirdifuni kol yamei chayai. B'shaviti b'veit Adonai le'orach yamim.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters, and restores my soul. You lead me in right paths for the sake of your name. Even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. With rod and staff you comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Eternal forever. Death has summoned our beloved David Feigenbaum. Our souls cry out unto you, O God. What are we? Are we the creatures of dust whose destiny is but to return to the dust from which we came? The ancient sage has taught us the spirit of the human being is the lamp of the eternal. Not even the darkness of death can extinguish the light which the eternal has kindled in the sanctuary of the human soul. Therefore, O God, we thank you in this solemn hour for that which was deathless in the life of our cherished Dave, and which is now revealed to us in all of its beauty. For his love that united us in life and which death cannot sever. For his companionship which we shared along life's path and which still continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of his heart and his mind, which brought us joy and happiness, and now have become a precious heritage of the Spirit. For all these and more, we give you our praise. Grant unto us, O God, the strength of all the generations of our people, who in the face of bereavement proclaimed, Adonai Natan, v'Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach. God has given, God has taken away. Still, blessed be the name of God. In his sorrow, Job cried out, Adonai Natan, v'Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach. An ancient people, we are well acquainted with grief and with the valley of shadows. Death and sorrow are not strangers to us, yet the centuries have taught us that a good name endures. It endures beyond the grave, and that there is strength in faith. With Job we say, Adonai Natan, God, you have given. You gave us a loved one who will not be forgotten. For all that was good and enduring in Dave's life, we offer the deepest thanks of our hearts. Adonai lakach, God, you have given away. We pray for the strength to turn our broken hearts into an altar of trust, before which we acknowledge your sovereignty and your love, as we now say, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach, blessed be the name of God, now and forever. Mindy, I think back to when you and I first met. You were a teacher in our first grade temple class, teaching the children about the Jewish life cycle and holidays. I recall that when you and Dave stood together under the chuppah, we were all so excited that after all the mock weddings you'd arranged for the temple children, you were finally able to stand under your own real chuppah. And I was privileged to be there with you. At that time, we talked about how even though Dave rooted for the wrong baseball team, he was going to be your best cheerleader and your advocate. You would be beloved to each other, just like the author of the biblical book Song of Songs calls you. You were Re'im Ha'ahuvim, loving friends. Mindy, that you've lost your loving friend makes all of us join with your broken heart. To you, to Dave's father Stanley, to his sister Lisa and brother Richard, to the young women who became his daughters, to Steffi and Michelle, to all of your families, we offer our deepest sympathies. Dave's love of family and his enthusiasm for life defined his dedication to each of you and to his New York sports teams. The other thing that the little students in our temple learned about in that first grade class of yours, Mindy, was about the Jewish holidays. Today, as everyone knows, is the first day of Hanukkah. Last night we lit the first candle of our Chanukiah. But as many of you know, to do so we need another candle, the shamash, the serving candle. We would often exhort the children, and it's a message equally relevant for adults, to be the shamash, to be the one who lights up others, who causes everyone around you to shine more brightly. Our beloved Dave served as the shamash in each of our lives. He entered a room, and the light got brighter with his gregarious laugh, his smart aleck commentary, his kindness, and his way of shedding greater insightfulness upon any situation. The man who in so many ways was your shamash served up greater light into our lives, who by his life force gave you a feeling of safety and security beneath his light, has become like the sacred candles of this season. Although Dave's light has been taken away from us, it still shines brightly, illuminating for us a path for the healing of our hearts. And we begin that healing by sharing our precious memories, each dedicated to a night of Hanukkah, until we will see the fullness of the light he brought into each of our lives with the full menorah he so skillfully kindled in each of us. The first light, the first candle David lit, represents his being the oldest child of Sandra and of Stanley Feigenbaum. Raised on Long Island, that identity burned brightly. Stanley would say that Dave was more like his mother in looks and temperament, and that of course was a good thing. His parents would watch him play his sports, but his love of the games and the statistics developed more on his own. Dave played in high school, and then while at SUNY Binghamton, to get out of a gym class, he became the sportscaster for all of the basketball games. and he went on to intern for the Yankees during the summers. Dave was close with his parents, especially his mother, as he proudly attended college alongside her when she went back to school just as he was starting his university. What a team they made. And he was all about New York teams. The Yankees, the Giants, the Knicks, and the Rangers were what he lived for in those early days. Dave liked to tell the story of how his father, and Stanley shared it with me again, how his father, anticipating beating the traffic out of the Mets game, and with the Mets down, decided they should leave the game already, only to find out that they missed the exciting come-from-behind winning home run. But more than that, he liked to relive the beautiful family vacations that he would share with his parents, a whole month of summer travels together that kindled his own kind of travel bug. Dave would go around the country visiting from stadium to stadium. It didn't matter if it was a major or minor league place, and his travels took him all over the world. And as his parents traveled to Cleveland to stand with us under the chuppah with their son to see his joy rekindled as he stood next to Mindy, we can affirm that that was a joyous sight for all to see. As the shamash, Dave lit up the second candle which is dedicated to his siblings. As the oldest, he welcomed first Michael, then Richard, then Lisa into the family. He served as their trusted friend and later as confidant. When Michael passed away at age 11, Dave took on the task of keeping everyone's spirit burning brightly. He remained especially close with his sister Lisa and loved the expansion of their team to include his brother-in-law and friend Craig, and niece Stella and nephew Max. Max is wearing his New York Yankees hat. He corrupted you. Visiting back to see you, he enjoyed being with the whole Ganze Mishpacha, that whole huge family of aunts and uncles and cousins, for whom he was a shining light and whom he kept close. Then came the most dramatic candle in his life, Mindy. Mindy, that flame didn't catch light at first. He was a nice guy who our friend Alice had discovered on one of those dating sites and thought better suited for you. The first date in 2000 was at Broadway Bagels, so New York. And he told you that you'd recognize him because he'd be wearing a Yankees jacket. It could have all ended right there. But doing the polite thing, you sent him a thank you note, which Dave misinterpreted as interest, and asked you to a movie. After that, he would catch every note and every look you sent his way, and he was able to read between those lines to know exactly what your heart needed. Even if you supported rival teams, you were riveted to watching the games together. In April of 2001, you made that profound commitment to join your lives together. To you, Mindy, Dave was the one who rekindled for you a love of laughter and a kindness you'd never known before. He made you happier than any of us had ever seen you. He was the true shamash in your life, with great respect for you, doing whatever was necessary and always going above and beyond, to shine with pride as he nurtured your growing confidence and celebrated your evolving successes. He was so proud of your accomplishments, especially of your work with the JNF. He was the unofficial schlepper, making sure that you didn't hurt yourself, but I think more like wanting the first ice cream cone. Together you attended the theater, which he loved. He even had to sit through videos of your theatrical performances from Belfair of years gone by, and then finally discovered how truly talented you were when you and the gang performed the Temple Purim play. You enjoyed traveling together, and you added many miles driving all around. You said the GPS saved your marriage. But in truth, I think it was having Dave as your co-navigator through these last 17 years that gave you the kind of support you needed to guide you along the journey that saved you and brought such joy into your life. You two were the kind of team who worked well together, and that was particularly true when it came to creating a sacred space for your daughters to thrive in also. Dave loved the instant fatherhood status he gained, and the girls loved having his fatherly presence in their lives. Candle number 4 is for Steffi and Michelle. Steffi, as you said, Dave became the 4th leg to stand on. He came into the family, stabilized you, and completed all of you together. And you and Michelle knew how blessed you both were to have him as the shamash, the light in your lives. He'd say to Mindy, I never realized how much I was missing without kids. But then again, he had all his hair and it wasn't gray yet. So accepting you as his own daughters and being accepted as your father, he was very protective of his girls. He'd reprimand a boy who looked at you funny, and when you brought someone home, he was the first to say, not that one. So when Michelle finally introduced Justin and Dave supported your relationship, that was actually a really big deal. And it meant the world to Dave that you wanted him to walk you down the aisle. Michelle and Justin would discover how resourceful Dave could be, as when Mindy and Michelle's dresses got caught up at the wedding together, Dave whipped out his trusty pocket knife to quite symbolically cut the cord. When it came time for Steffi to marry Brian, it was going to take Herculean strength to get him through his chemo treatment to be well enough to attend. Steffi stayed a month and a half to help drive Dave back and forth to the hospital, which only sealed the greater reason why it had to be Dave who walked beside you. It made Dave very happy to welcome Justin and Brian into the family. He finally had some boys with whom to talk sports. He embraced the whole family, and his generosity in every way was a light in your lives. Another way he generously lit up everyone's life was as he welcomed the next generation of girls. Dave wasn't sure about becoming a grandfather figure, but Ella, Allison, and Molly left no room for wandering. Immediately his heart was bound up in theirs. He was Papa and would sit Ella on his lap, ostensibly to teach her how to read maps. But Dave was also guiding you, Ella, on your journey, developing in you an awareness of trust and comfort, of gentleness, and of pure, delightful laughter. He'd take you to Menchie's on Friday nights to spoil you, but he was also teaching you to follow in his footsteps, to be a mensch. Dave decided he had to meet Allison already. He couldn't wait any longer, and so he showed up on his own with an F.A.O. Schwartz stuffed dog, which was his way of recapturing his childhood longing for toys from his favorite store. You named the first one Fancy, and the next dog that he gave you came from Bob Evans, and we called that one Biscuit. Of course, these were no substitutes for his love of greyhounds, to which he gave real names after his sports heroes. Dave's heart grew exponentially with the arrival of Molly, too. He had all his baby girls. And his heart was filled also with the love of all the extended family. Coming into the Felber family, Dave instantly embraced all of you and gave you a reason to hate the Yankees even more. Dave had been a part owner of their minor league team, and he was proud to tell you that. But I think the phrase you would hit back with him was that you can tell a New Yorker a mile away, you just can't tell them anything. Dave loved all of his in-law family. You were a whole menorah lit up already, and he just made it brighter as he embraced Steve and Bruce and Jimmy and Robbie. He loved that you could talk sports at his level, and he was all about staying close with your wives and all the family. He was the light that lit up his aunts and uncles, Bobby, Lee, Libby, and Bernie's families, and his cousins too from all around. He crossed your generations with a strong commitment to keeping all the family close. Thanksgiving this last year was especially poignant, as he relished in watching everyone together, even though he was already too ill to help with the turkey. The seventh candle is reserved for Dave's work family. While at an early age his father scolded him for doing his math by counting it out on his fingers, he felt vindicated by the new research that said it helped with tactile learning. But Dave's learning moved far beyond that as he became a counselor and teacher to others. As the director of the corporate credit for Kitchener Lighting, he was the guru of credit in his industry, speaking at conferences and as an educator for CEUs for others in his field. He served on the board of the National Association of Credit Managers and was well respected by his peers and often quoted as the source of innovative thinking in his industry in many articles. And perhaps more importantly, he was trusted by his clients. Bright, articulate, funny, Dave's goal was to make things good for the customer and the business, all the while keeping his coworkers entertained and engaged. They were truly his friends. And this last candle of the menorah is reserved for all of Dave's friends. Here he was truly the shamash, the one who would help us with anything. He was the brother we never had or never knew we needed, or the friend that we needed even when things were rough for him. He was bringing joy and laughter into any situation. And he depended on many of us to do the same for him. Dave suffered through his leukemia from the age of 34 until this, his 64th year. Able to reassure us all along the way, this last week it was clear that the light in his eyes was dimming. The Hanukkah season is the time of rededication and of dedication. It's the time when we think about the difficult battles won by our people and of the miracle of the oil lasting longer than expected. Similarly, we are grateful for all the battles that Dave has won along the way, and for the blessing of enjoying his shining light in our lives for so much longer than anyone expected. He's been that kind of divine intervention in the lives of so many. The person who made you feel like you could endure life's challenges a little longer because he was there beside you. So that's where his being our shamash continues. While the candle may burn to extinguish the visible light, it becomes our responsibility now to take that light into our hearts and to carry forward Dave's light, to be the light in the lives of all those he cherished. Dave's life has summoned us to light holy lights in this season and to rededicate our lives to keeping bright that glow of his light as a son, a brother, a husband, a father, a grandfather, a relative, a mentor, and a friend. In this season and always, let us join with the sages to declare Zichrono Livracha. May his memory continue to be our blessing. Amen. I'd like to invite his sister Lisa to share a few memories, and she'll be followed by his daughter Michelle.
Thank you all for coming today. He would be overwhelmed. The people that came near and far, truly means the world to all of us. I'm Lisa Feigenbaum, and I have been David's annoying little sister for 48 years. As a kid, I took that role very seriously, and I was very good at annoying him. David was always larger than life to me. He had a whole life that existed beyond my understanding. He could drive, he could stay out late, he could eat whatever he wanted, seemingly do whatever he wanted. And he had an amazing music collection. I used to sneak into his room and borrow his 45s, go listen to them, and then put them right back. I didn't think he would ever know. Well, he found out, and he was really, really mad. and I wasn't allowed in his room for a long time. But for all of you that know David, you know that he was actually a big softie. He had a huge heart and genuinely cared about people. So not long after, he gave me a whole bunch of my own 45s, and he forgave the little sister that looked up to him so. When I was very little, he used to laughingly call me Monster, or Little Monster. I was known as Little Monster until I turned 16 or so. And when I asked him why he stopped, why it changed, he said, "Well, you're much more than that now." And from that point on, we developed a pretty beautiful friendship. Every week, for 30+ years, without fail, David would call me. He never missed a week. We would have these great, long, winding conversations. He always had lots of advice and lots of opinions about things that I should or shouldn't be doing. We'd chat about family and friends, or his next business trip, the next ballpark he would visit. There was always so much to talk about. And it's hard to imagine a world without these weekly conversations. He was my brother because of blood, but my friend because of love. And of all the things I do, all the labels I accumulate in my life, being David's little sister will always be one of my favorite roles. Thank you.
Thought we would be here. Thank you for being here. As Dave would have said, this weather is really inconvenient and he hated this weather. I don't know how you put into words all the emotions and the memories, because Dave would have wanted a celebration of life. He didn't want big crowds. He didn't want anybody to fuss. He would have said, and I quote, "Business as usual, and do not treat me like a sick person." So out of respect for Dave, I want to share a few of our memories that are so special to us. In the beginning of their relationship, Mom called me at college and said, "I'm going away for the weekend with my new boyfriend." And I said, "Well, I'm coming home this weekend." And she left. And so I came home and I had a phone number to call to the hotel in Toronto. And I said, "Yes, hi, I need to speak with your guest, David Feigenbaum. And she said, "Well, sweetie, there's nobody here by that name." And I thought, oh my, somebody kidnapped my mother. And to this day, we still talked about how he kidnapped her, but really, he kidnapped us with all of his warmth and kindness. For one man to gain an instant family with my mom and my sister and me, well, he must have been a saint. Here we were, 3 close, strong, emotional women, and then Dave. He was our rock. We welcomed him with open arms, and once we saw how happy they were together, that was enough. We were the 4 of us. Their love was so inspirational, respectful, and filled with laughter. It was something we admired and thought, this is how life should be, a journey together. The stars were aligned when he moved to Cleveland to work for Kitchler 18 years ago. He loved what he did, And in the credit association world, he was a guru of credit. But yet to us, he was a guru of honesty, fairness, and love. And during college, Dave inspired me to travel abroad. In Switzerland, I personalized a small Swiss Army knife with the word Dad, and he carried it with him. And that's what he used to cut the cord at the wedding when I was stuck on Mom. He was so proud to carry that with him. Little did I know that 7 years, oh, I'm sorry, I already said this.
Okay.
Thank you. Dave was thrilled to have Justin, a Phillies fan, and Brian, a Giants fan, join our family. He didn't feel so outnumbered anymore. And he could always talk about his passion, Yankees, and sports with two people who try to keep up with his deep, deep, deep knowledge of sports. We used to joke that at the dinner table on Sunday nights, Dave and Justin would be talking, and one of my kids would be choking, and they would have no clue because they were just so busy talking about who was traded and what was happening in the world of sports. For the 17 years that we were lucky to have him in our lives, Dave was our father, our friend, and most importantly, a very proud papa to his 3 grandchildren. He was a big teddy bear who loved us all unconditionally. He completed our family, and he will be missed by many. We love you, Dad. Thank you.
Let's go. You did it. Got through it. It's very colorful. Oh, cheers.
Okay, come on, sweetie. Take Aunt Steffi's hand, okay?
Each of us has precious memories of Dave. We take a moment now as we silently compose the eulogy of our own hearts. Yehiu l'ratzon imrei fi, v'hegyon libi lefanecha, Adonai tzuri v'goali. May not only the words that we speak, but even our most precious meditations be acceptable to you, our God, our rock, and our Redeemer. Amen. We ask God to accept Dave's soul with the words of El Malay. Please rise.
El מלא רחמים שוכן במרומים עומסי מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפיך שכינה במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת דוד נפתלי בן זלמן ושרה שהלך לעולמו בגן עדן תמנוחתו אנא בהרחמים אסתירהו בסתר כנפיך לעולמים ותטרור בטרור החיים את נשמתו אדוני הוא נחלתו וינוח בשלום על משכבו ונאמר אמן.
O compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to David Feigenbaum, to David Naphtali, son of Zalman and Sarah, who has entered unto eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence. and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace, and let us answer, Amen. You may be seated. Our service continues at the Mayfield Cemetery, and the family will receive friends today following the service and interment at the Terra Clubhouse, which is 255 Sandover Drive in Aurora. They'll be there until 8 o'clock this evening, and beginning Thursday, they'll receive friends at their residence, 261 Arlington Drive in Aurora. Families and friends who wish to may contribute to the Taussig Cancer Center of the Cleveland Clinic or to the Jewish National Fund.